Hundreds of thousands of people are moving around our city each day by foot, bike, private auto, and public transportation. Mayor Walsh and Boston Transportation Commissioner Gina Fiandaca strive to ensure that residents and visitors can access the city safely and reliably. Commissioner Fiandaca is with us today. We will discuss the Transportation Department's goals of expanding access, improving public safety, and ensuring equity and reliability for all users of our streets. Gina, thank you so much. Commissioner Fiandaca, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Excuse me, BTD is very busy right now, Boston Transportation Department. Tell us about the department. What do you strive to do for the city of Boston?
Sure. Well, I like to say Boston Transportation Department keeps people moving, and that's our mission. Last couple of years ago, we released Go Boston 2030, which is the city's long-term transportation plan. It really provides a framework and a vision for how we think about moving around in the future.
And like I mentioned, we're moving around by bike, by foot. There's so many ways. What did you have any input from community members? How does that look?
Sure. Go Boston 2030 was really part of a groundbreaking public engagement effort. In the winter of 2015, we launched this effort, and we started with a question campaign. And I don't know if you remember the winter of 2015.
Oh, yes, I do. Yeah.
The coldest winter on record, and the snowiest. But we decided to go out to our neighborhoods with the question truck and say, what is your vision for transportation and mobility for the future? We took that truck to every single neighborhood.
You must have got a mouthful that year. There was so much going on, but anyway, continue.
Well, people were really engaged.
Okay.
And I think that was what was so inspiring about the whole campaign, is that folks really welcomed the opportunity to get involved, because I don't think anyone had ever asked them before how they want to get around in the future and what their vision is for transportation. So we went out to all the neighborhoods. We heard from 6,000 people that way.
Impressive.
We went out and we took all of that information back, and we launched visioning sessions in our neighborhoods. We went out on the weekends, we went out during the day, we went out at night. We wanted to make sure that we engaged a lot of populations that don't normally show up to community meetings on a weeknight in their neighborhoods. We were downtown, we were out in the neighborhoods, and from that we distilled that down to 58 projects and policies that form sort of the vision framework for Go Boston 2030.
So there's a plan, there's a goal, and there's a process, and there's a component to Go Boston 20, and that is Vision Zero. Tell us about that. What is that about?
Yeah, Vision Zero was launched in 2015 by Mayor Walsh, and that is an international effort to eliminate serious traffic crashes that result in fatalities and serious injuries. And it's very much a people-oriented program and an approach, and it forms really our public safety philosophy for the Transportation Department.
So how did you talked about crashes, lessening crashes. There's a study that you focused on that helped you to determine how to put together this plan in order to lessen those crashes. What was that?
Yeah, well, Vision Zero has a task force that was appointed by the mayor. It includes representatives from all of our public safety agencies, including the Boston Police Department and EMS, Emergency Medical Services. Those are key partners for us, as well as folks from the advocacy community, our medical community, our university and our educational communities, and our neighborhood groups. And really the hallmark for Vision Zero is taking a data-driven approach to sort of these interventions that can make our roadways safer.
And one of those ways that you're making it safer, you actually did a ribbon cutting last year with Chief of Streets, Chief Osgood. He was a recent guest here. How is that going? How is the process going with lowering the speed limit to 25, the streets of Boston, for the city?
Yeah, that was one of our key initiatives around Vision Zero. We know that you're likely to sustain really serious injuries and fatalities can result the higher the speed of the vehicle that hits a pedestrian. So the speed limit in Boston was 30 miles per hour. Through the mayor's initiative and a lot of hard work with some great partners who really advocated for this on our behalf, we were able to pass legislation that lowered the speed limit to 25 miles per hour in the city of Boston. So all of the roadways, the speed limit is 25 miles per hour unless it's posted otherwise.
Now you have specific zones. There were some that were selected in 2017 and 2018?
For neighborhood slow streets, that's the case, yes. Through the application process, there are 2 zones that are completed now. Those are Stony Brook and Jamaica Plain, where we had the ribbon cutting earlier this year, and the Talbot-Norfolk Triangle.
Okay.
This year, we've got 2 locations in Codman Square. We've got some in Dorchester, Mattapan. So what we're doing right now is really doing those community engagement walks with the neighborhood groups. They were selected for the program. Next step for us is we go out and we actually walk the area with our engineers and our planners so we can get a real good feel for what the issues are and how we can best design the improvements that the neighborhood groups are seeking.
Are people paying attention that you know of?
Yes. We were just recently recognized by the National Highway Safety Administration for our efforts to reduce serious crashes, and lowering the speed limit plays a major role in that.
Oh, that's an honor, right?
Really very pleased with that.
So that keeps you amped and hyped to continue the process, right?
Yeah.
So what other processes have been made in, under the plan of Go 2030 Boston?
Sure. So Go Boston 2030, really it takes sort of the public engagement process, and it formed the framework for our approach. And what we heard from folks is that they want to be able to get around their neighborhoods in a safe way. They want great pedestrian access to public transit. They want equitable public transit, and they really want to feel safe on our streets. So with that said, we launched Neighborhood Slow Streets, which is where Vision Zero takes an approach where we could redesign corridors or specific intersections to make those specific locations safer. Neighborhood Slow Streets really engages the community to tell us what are the neighborhood streets and the districts within your neighborhood that you would really like us to come in and redesign with you. So they submit an application. We take into consideration the proximity to parks and schools or hospitals or senior centers.
They actually resubmitted some applications and focused on the schools, parks, and libraries and community centers, right? That they focused on those areas. Okay, continue. So
what we'll do in those areas is, first thing we'll do is we'll reduce the speed limit to 20 miles per hour. And then we'll redesign those streets with sort of what we call curb extensions, where we might take some parking spaces and bump out the curb to create a safe pedestrian environment, to shorten the distances for pedestrians to get across the street, to improve lighting, to install what we call rapid flash beacons. And those are an alternative to a traffic signal that a pedestrian can press at a crosswalk. And it has literally flashing beacons that alert the motorist that a pedestrian is crossing the street. It's really a great intervention.
What does the driver see?
The driver sees flashing yellow lights on both sides of
they're flashing yellow.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So let's move into, there's other forms of transportation, as I mentioned. Bikes, blue bikes. You have a blue bike program. I'm seeing bikes all over the place. Tell us about that.
We certainly do. Blue Bikes is the city's public bike share system. And we launched this program with our partners in Cambridge and Somerville and Brookline this year. And the bikes are blue because they're sponsored by Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Oh, okay. All right.
So earlier this summer, all of the bikes were swapped out. They're brand new bikes. We're adding 30 stations to the network. We are just under 8 million trips since the bike share program started.
Are you able to count them?
And yeah, and 1.5 million in 2018.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
So it's a great program. We are building out the network, and this year we're able to bring the program to Mattapan and Roxbury and Dorchester.
Okay.
Parts of the city that
Why those specific areas?
We went out to our neighborhoods again. We're big on public engagement, so we launched some sort of information sessions earlier this year, all throughout the summer, and we heard from folks, where do you need these blue bikes?
So what does it cost to rent a blue bike?
Blue bikes are amazingly affordable. It is $99 per year for the membership on an annual basis, or you can pay by the month on that. We also offer day passes or 30-day passes for tourists or visitors here, and we have an income-eligible membership that you can find out more about through our Boston Bikes coordinators.
Excellent. Wow, that's pretty impressive too. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Blue Bikes is something that we're really proud of. It's one of the oldest bike share systems in the country, and it's really in the top 5 nationwide.
And you also had some artists that designed some bikes.
Yes, those are the unicorn bikes.
Okay, they're the unicorn. Okay.
Yeah, so those are very distinctive bikes, and they're part of a sponsorship program with Blue
That's
Bikes.
interesting.
So
though,
you can find the unicorn bike, and those are
they're not
pretty
easy to
popular.
find.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, that's great
Yeah.
that you had the community involved in actually designing the bike. So that's great. That's great. Downtown Boston has a new look, right?
It certainly does.
It's not the old downtown Boston that we're familiar with. Tell us about that.
No, if you've been to Franklin Street recently, you'll see a sea of green out there. We have turned Franklin Street into a pedestrian plaza, and we call that our Public Realm Initiative. And that was a partnership with the Downtown Crossing Business Association and Millennium Properties. We took the street, we painted it green, we put flex posts out to protect the folks sitting at cafe tables that are out there. So it's a beautiful, inviting area. I encourage anyone visiting downtown Boston to take a look at that. It's really stunning.
So we have some new bus lanes in Washington Street and Rosendale. What's going on over there?
Well, that's a program that we're really proud of. We went out to the community in Rosendale, and we identified the corridor on Washington Street from Rosendale Square to Forest Hills as particularly congested on the AM commute, so in the morning hours. And most of the people traveling along that corridor are on the bus. So we wanted to find a way to improve that experience. So we went out last December. So last December we went out there and we decided to pilot a bus lane. We partnered with the MBTA on this, and we coned off a travel lane in the morning. So we flyered the neighborhood, we removed the parking in the parking lane. We coned off the lane, and we made it an exclusive lane for buses. So essentially what we did was we doubled the roadway capacity on the AM commute. So cars had their lane, buses had their lane, and cyclists could use the bus lane as well. And what we found was that it really improved the operations of the bus. It really improved the experience for the riders on that bus. So we went out, we did it again. We collected some data from the MBTA. We wanted to make sure that what we're doing out there is actually backed up by some data on the bus operations. That was the case. And then we went out and we made it permanent a few months later, and we were able to work with the MBTA, with the Boston Public Schools, with Boston Police. It was really a joint effort by a lot of folks involved to make this happen on a daily basis to clear that lane. And it reduced travel times by 20% for folks on the bus. And that translated into, I think it was 26 hours of passenger time on a daily basis.
Wow.
So it improved passenger time by 26 hours every single day, just by putting in a bus lane.
Well, I like how you did the testing first and you coned it off to see, if it really works and how much time you would actually save.
Well, I have to give a lot of credit to the Transportation Department's operations folks, because they were out there at 4 a.m. every single day to make sure that that lane was clear. And eventually, we were able to work with the MBTA to get the lane striped, so now it's red. All the pavement markings are in place, so it's really a clear demarcation.
I have noticed quite a bit. So that's great. That's great. So it's your mission, or the department's mission, and your mission, to kind of go along the lines of safety, reliability, and equity. Correct?
Absolutely. Those are the tenets of Go Boston 2030, that's for sure.
Great, great. So you're hiring. Boston Transportation Department is hiring. What job opportunities are available, and how can people apply? Sure.
We've got 20 new positions that we are looking for folks for. We want people to join our Vision Zero team. We want people to join our transit team so that we can plan more of these bike lanes and bus lanes, and really improve our collaboration with the MBTA and the transit folks, so that we can really build out those connections to our transit system that people need. We're also hiring a mobility team, and we're hiring some folks.
And what is that?
The mobility team, we focus on new mobility options, whether it's automated vehicles or micro-mobility or TNC operations in the city. So all of those sort of new mobility options that are either in the mix now or on the horizon.
Thank you. How does, you spoke about autonomous vehicles. How is the department moving forward as, the city of Boston is growing and changing?
Well, Boston's really been on the cutting edge of autonomous vehicle testing for a long time now. We have had a partnership with some technology providers going back a couple of years now, Newtonomy and Optimus Ride. They operated in the Seaport District, and we took a very strategic approach to how we would roll out the testing for autonomous vehicles. And safety was always our #1 priority, and the providers really welcomed that into the testing protocol. So they completed hundreds of hours of testing in a controlled environment, moving on to sort of unpredictable weather and environmental conditions, and then moving outside of a controlled environment. And we know that we need to plan and we need to be prepared for automated technology.
Absolutely. Are you ready?
We are going to be ready. Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner Fiandaca.
Thank you.
Such a pleasure having you. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to be here.
If you would like more information about Boston transportation plans, or if you are interested in job opportunities at Boston Transportation Department, please visit boston.gov/transportation, or email the department at btd@boston.gov, or call 617-635-4811. For parking-related issues or questions, please visit boston.gov/parking, or call 617-635-4410. Thank you for watching Commissioner's Corner. I'm Najya Mawasi, and I will see you soon.